This is my review for Scream 5, also known as Scream. But saying it's the best since the original, I think it's a bit overstepping and just to get people in the seats. This film does give somewhat of its own brand and also recycles some of the old that made us fall in love with the original franchise and especially the first film. When it comes to this film, it's not necessarily better, but it is amongst the rest of sequels. The twist isn't necessarily guessing the killer, it's more the main character is actually Billy Loomis's daughter, and it exposes itself very early on in the film. It's cool to know throughout, but in a way I think it would have paid off better if it was saved to the end. Now the ending is more of what we come to expect in these films. Honestly, the killers are trying to remake or reboot the franchise and make have their own movie made of their life or whatever, and being the heroes, and a little overdone. Honestly, I think they could have done something else. Cast of the killers, I didn't care for at all. Ever since after 2, they've been pretty weak. You had Warwick Culkin, felt like just there. Emma Roberts, she's so tiny. Sid should have kicked her ass along with these two, and she just gets stabbed. Where's all that fighting and combat we saw in the first 3? And I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. Sydney being back, you know, she should know better. Being cautious, shooting at all the doors, because usually Ghostface, that's where he jumps out of, but she's wasting her bullets without a clear shot, and that's really stupid. And that's what the mistake they usually make in horror films. I liked how the character Sam had ran away from her problems, much like her grandmother, Billy Loomis's mom. Pretty cool, you know, to see how they are similar in that area. I thought the ghost of Billy Loomis, or whatever he was, if it was just a figment of her imagination, I thought it was out of place, but at first, but then I remembered in Scream 3, Sid has a dream of her ghost mother. It's just a nightmare, but still, it's in there. Could be called back to, you know, Wes Craven's other films like Shocker or On Elm Street, where Tina's ghost is being seen by Nancy throughout the film, even though it didn't fit in this franchise. Considering Wes Craven's other films, it does. There's some props in this film that might remind you of the first film, and I've caught one at the end where the umbrella comes into play, where it's on screen but it's not really ever used. Where Sydney stabs Billy in the chest, come out of the closet. Jenna Ortega's character being tied up in the closet reminded me a lot of Sid's dad in the first film at the end. The stab movies within the Scream movies are the most accurate true life films ever created. The scenes reenacting themselves within the film, and the behind you scene with Randy and Michael Myers holding the knife is the exact same shot used in Scream. It's also the same shot used in Stab. A victim shouting at the Stab film, you know, it's just replaying itself within this movie. Now, this ending does leave a little more to be desired, but I think this is the end. I think it's, you know, good enough to just let things lie. Sid has her family, Gail has her arc where she no longer is seeking fame in the name of people's deaths. Looks like we got a serial killer on our hands, you know, sprinting to Dewey in the first film. Serial killer's not exactly accurate. We gotta knock off a few more to get that title. But we can hope, can't we? The two new directors, they kept a pretty consistent flow to the franchise, making this a worthy Scream sequel. For now, I do think this is the best sequel outside of 2, because I have a soft spot for it, because I watched it just as much as the original. But since after 2, the killers have felt kind of mediocre, and I think the casting might have something to do with that, maybe. That's just me. Now, as far as Sydney being a parent, it plays no part in this script as far as just her being mentioned. It's a missed opportunity to see Ghostface go after her family and make it more suspenseful. But in a way, maybe it's unnecessary to do that. Because she's given such a small part to know she has a family, it kind of works because we know she's content with her life and she feels like she's safe enough to have a family, you know, without having them killed off. Now, seeing Dewey's death wasn't a shocker to me. He died twice, once in Scream 1 and 2, which 2 would have been the better climactic death for me. Marco Beltrami's score and the blood splattering all over the glass was awesome. Of course he had to live. I was waiting for him to, you know, start moving the body back, be like, I'm not dead yet, bitches, or something. I'm glad he died, because I always thought his character was annoying and pointless and stupid, which I know is the point. I was surprised to see Kyle Gallner in this film, because he's a really good actor, I think. If you haven't seen Never Let Me Go, you need to. He plays a good part in that. Courtney Cox also directed that film, and also he was in On Night on Elm Street, the remake. He's wasted in this film, very little screen time. But the rest of the cast, I liked, minus the 2 killers. I thought they were just weak, didn't really offer anything new as far as their motive. Seeing Sid and Gail team up again, it was actually pretty empowering. It didn't feel forced. Let's throw in some female empowerment, which I love, and it feels like it fits in the film. And it did, because they've been, you know, doing this through the whole franchise. So I felt organic. This is also the most emotional we've seen Courtney Cox and as Gale Weathers in this franchise. As the stakes call for it, she's given a lot more depth, really, in a way. You feel like she's grown as a character, matured, and not really, just all about herself, even though she still kind of is. But yeah, Jenna Ortega was really good. Melissa Mabrero, she was decent, and I thought her character was really great. With the de-aging of Billy Loomis, it threw me off. It did, honestly. But if you're a fan of the franchise, then I'll definitely go see it. You will love it. Don't answer the phone.